Hey guys, it's Jeff from Pressure Luck, and today I'm going to do another recipe that has nothing to do with the Instant Pot. You know, self-isolating and quarantining and all that stuff makes me want to explore a little bit more of my traditional cooking styles. You know what I mean? Before the Instant Pot came into play. As much as I love it, I want to try making a few other things outside of it. And guys, today we're going to make something you just can't make in an Instant Pot. I'm talking something that's gonna make a certain Sesame Street character's eyes go googly, googly, googly. Because C is for cooking, and that's good enough for me. Guys, we are going to make the most amazing, crispy, perfect chocolate chip cookies you've ever had in your entire life. Just one bite of these babies is gonna make you lose your mind, and it's so simple to make. It is ridiculously delicious, and it's gonna be a huge hit no matter where you go. Whether you bring it to a party or you save all of them for yourself. Plus, it makes a ton of cookies. So let's go right to the stand mixer or hand mixer and then into the oven, because you're about to have the greatest chocolate chip cookies in the world. So the first thing I want to use is a stand mixer, if you have one. If you don't, definitely a mixing bowl and a hand mixer. But if you have a KitchenAid or something of this nature, it's going to be your best friend for making a cookie dough. The first thing I want to add to the bowl is 2 sticks or a half a pound of salted butter. Some recipes call for unsalted butter for cookies. I like to use salted. You can use unsalted if you want, but I feel like this gives it more flavor. And by the way, the butter has to be softened. But if you don't feel like leaving it out for about 2 hours from the fridge or overnight, because it takes about 2 hours to get to that level, you can easily zap it in the microwave for 10 seconds and then flip the butter over and then put it in for another 5 seconds total, and it should be perfectly softened. Now to my stand mixer, I want to add my paddle attachment here. This is a nice little fancy paddle attachment because it has a nice rubber edge to scoop up anything that comes on the edges. I like that. And I also realized my syntax there was maybe a little inappropriate. Regardless, you know what I mean. But if you have one of these paddle attachments, that's fine too. And I'm gonna lower my mixer, lock it, and then I wanna cream my butter. And I'm gonna put this on about a number 2 speed to do that. And then I'm gonna up it to a 4. And after about 10 to 15 seconds of mixing, I'm gonna turn it off, and voila, we have nice creamed, softened butter. A rubber spatula is going to be your best friend here too, because we want to make sure that we get the butter off of the mixer here, the paddle attachment, and we want to just put it in the bowl as best we can. There we go. Great, moving on. Now it's time to add in our sugars. I want to add in 3/4 of a cup of a white granulated sugar, 3/4 of a cup of a tightly packed light brown sugar. I would prefer using light over dark brown sugar for this. 1 teaspoon of regular iodized salt, and yes, I know I use salted butter, but still, I add it in as well. 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, and my secret ingredient for these cookies, 1 tablespoon of maple syrup. The real stuff, guys, if you can get your hands on it. Let's lower our mixer back in. And now let's put it on a low to a 2 speed and then just mix everything up in there. Alright, and we're going to let that mix for about 20 seconds. And now we're going to add in 2 large eggs. I'm just going to crack them in and add it right inside the bowl, one at a time. And let that mix together for about another 20 seconds. And again, this is on a 2 speed that I'm doing this. Alright, and I'm going to stop it. We'll lift up my mixer here, and then again use the spatula to make sure any of the stuff that's on the paddle is inside of my bowl, and get the sides as well and scrape them down. Even though I have my fancy paddle attachment with the side scraper, it's better to just double check and make sure you get everything inside the bowl again. Alright, and anything that's on the spatula, just rub it back onto the paddle so it goes back in the bowl eventually. Now what we're going to lower our mixer back in, lock it, and then we're going to turn it on to the lowest speed it can possibly go. Okay, that's just the stir speed. And now I'm going to add in 2 1/4 of a cup of an all-purpose flour. You do not need to sift it at all, make it nice and easy. And I want to add in about half of that amount first on low speed. Always keep it on low speed, guys, because flour will go all over the place if this thing is beating on high. So add about half of this in there. Once it begins to incorporate, you can up the speed to a 2. And then I'm gonna bring it back down to a low speed again, and then add in the rest of my flour. This is on just simply the stir speed. It's the lowest possible stirring setting that you can go. And once the flour begins to get nice and incorporated into the dough, we can go on a 2-speed for about another 10 seconds. All right, now let's turn that off and lift up my paddle one more time. And you're gonna see we're getting super doughy here. And let's again take our spatula, press our dough back inside of the bowl, and then get the sides, scrape it down from anything that might have been stuck there, some flour that didn't get mixed in yet. Okay, and now I'm going to add in some baking soda. I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and a little tip that I learned is to add in 1 teaspoon of hot water to the baking soda and mix that up into a little bit of a slurry in here, and then we add that right back into our batter slash dough. Get that in there and give it a final mix on our number 2 setting, and we do that for about another 10 seconds, and then we can turn off our mixer, lift the little head up there one more time, get all the dough inside of the bowl. We can remove our paddle attachment now, and now I want to add in between 12 to 16 ounces of your favorite type of chocolate chip. If you want them super chippy, go for 16 ounces. And you can use any kind you'd like. I'm using semi-sweet because I think that's the classic for a chocolate chip cookie, but you can use milk chocolate, you can use white chocolate, you can use toffee chips, you can use peanut butter chips, any kind you want. And I'm not adding these because I can't stand walnuts in my chocolate chip cookies. However, if that's your thing, by all means, feel free to add in some chopped walnuts. About a cup worth if you want, about a half a cup to a cup worth. And now I'm just gonna not use my stand mixer, but just use my spatula to mix all of my chocolate chips into the cookie dough. Really get in there and mix it up so all of that dough gets tons of chocolate chips mixed throughout. And this is the exercise portion of this recipe. You should feel good afterwards. You're gonna reward yourself for all this hard work. And perfect. Now what we want to do, because this is really critical, is we want to make sure that our dough is nice and chilled. So we want to pop this in the refrigerator between 1 and 2 hours before we begin to bake. That is really key, guys, for the perfect evenly baked chocolate chip cookies. Definitely pop the dough into the fridge an hour or 2 prior to baking. We're about to bake. Let's preheat our oven to 375 degrees. And now it's time to take our dough out of the fridge, and it's been in there for about an hour and a half, and it's gonna be nice and chilled. All right, now let's get a baking sheet. There we go, a nice big 21 by 15 baking sheet I have. This is perfect in my opinion. However, if you have smaller baking sheets, you can totally use those. I wanna line my baking sheet with parchment paper. Alright, there we go, and there's the shadow of my camera. And now I want to take my dough and I want to take a tablespoon and then scoop it up in there so we get about a tablespoon worth of dough. That's the exact amount you want. And then just take it out of the tablespoon, wet your hand with cold water, and then take the dough and then squish it in your hand, kind of like in your palm like this, until it's about a half of an inch thick. Just like this. You see that? Perfect. Now what I want to do is I want to lay it on the parchment paper. Just like that. And guys, from all this cookie dough, we're going to make about 40 to 50 amazing, amazing cookies. So you're getting so much of your money's worth out of this one. And we'll just repeat the process for all of our dough. But wet hands are everything in this situation. You want to lay your half-inch flattened cookie dough about 2 inches apart from each other, okay? And there we go. We're going to just keep repeating this until we can fill up our tray. And the key to really doing this properly is to make sure that your hands are wet with cold water constantly. Don't dry your hands. And by the way, another note on parchment paper, I can't recommend it enough over anything else. It doesn't stick to it at all. You don't need to grease it. It is perfect. Use parchment paper. All right, and here we go. I got 30 cookies on this gigantic 21 by 15 baking sheet. Now I still have remaining cookie dough left, and I'm going to be able to make more cookies after this in a second batch, but I'm going to pop this back in the fridge so it keeps cool in the meantime. Alright, let's pop these babies in the oven. Now I want to adjust my oven rack so it's second from the top, not in the middle, just one above it, and then place my baking tray in the oven so it's just like that. and shut the door. By the way, the reason why I don't have my knobs on is because I typically have a cover over my stove and I don't want to, you know, accidentally bump into it and turn on my stove. Very responsible. And I want to bake these cookies, guys, for between 12 to 14 minutes. Keep an eye on it as all ovens vary. We want it to be a beautiful golden brown, not too dark, but just the right color. And about halfway through my cook time, after about 6 to 7 minutes, I'm gonna open up my oven, and to evenly cook my cookies, oh, they're already looking beautiful, I wanna turn my tray around here. Let's give it a 180. Oh. Not the easiest thing to do with one hand doing that and the other holding the camera. I'm a little bit low budget sometimes. And now we'll let it continue to bake for another 6 to 8 minutes or so. We want to go for about 12 to 14 minutes until it's a nice golden brown. And now 12 minutes have passed, and oh boy, guys, look at how beautiful these cookies are. The perfect golden brown color, which is exactly what I was looking for. All right, I'm gonna take these out of the oven. All right, guys, and here are my beautiful cookies. Make sure you get a wire rack. At first, when I first started making cookies, I'm like, I don't need a wire rack. Whenever I saw you needed one, I'm like, forget it, I'll just put them on a plate. Believe me, they make a huge difference, and they're super affordable, and they make them cool down to the perfect cookie consistency. So make sure we transfer all of our cookies to this wire rack. And look at the bottom of my cookie, guys. Look at how perfectly brown that is. It's not burnt, it's perfect, the color. A nice crispy bottom and a nice soft top. And by the way, if any of your cookies have kind of fused together because they went into each other's space and stuff, even though they should totally be social distancing right now, just use a spatula and you can just break them apart like that. Very simple. But make sure you do it now sooner than later, because this is when it's easy to separate them. Because as they cool, they're going to become a little bit crispy, which is exactly how we want these cookies to be. And as our cookies are cooling on the wire rack, it's okay if they're touching near each other at this point, it's fine. And there we go. All of 30 of my cookies from the first batch, all done, looking absolutely perfect. And we're going to let these cool for 30 minutes on here. In the meantime, I'm going to reline my baking tray with fresh parchment paper, and then take my chilled cookie dough back from the fridge and make more cookies. Bake the second batch on the tray. And here is the rest of my cookies from my other batch. And there we go. 43 cookies. Look at that. I said it'd be between 40 and 50, and we got 43. A nice odd number. Guys, I cannot wait to try these. I'm just gonna make sure they're all cooled down. These have gone for about 15 minutes, and these will go for 30. So we're gonna try them out, and they're gonna be perfect. I'm so excited. And I know the waiting for them to cool is the hard part, but believe me, wait, it's well worth it. And the whole place smells amazing right now. All good things come to those who wait. All right, guys, and our cookies are all done, and I have a helper, of course, who wants to help eat the cookies. What's on your finger?
Oh, it's ink.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's ink.
It's blue. Okay, well, all right, ink.
Wash it.
And let's try out our cookies here.
Mmm. I like those. They're crispy outside and chewy inside.
Mm-hmm. It's
well,
perfect.
Combination of both great size.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I love having a crispy outside and a slightly chewy inside, but the more these set, the crispier they're gonna become in general. And that's how I like them, honestly. I like them like, it's kind of like those Tate's cookies. Do you ever have those Tate's Hampton cookies?
Mm-hmm.
They're like that, but in my opinion, they're better. They're homemade. You know what my secret is to these cookies?
what?
I put some maple syrup in them.
Mmm.
It's a nice touch.
Good idea.
Do you like that?
Yeah.
Oh my
You
god.
can do it with cane syrup if you're a southerner.
The edges,
Use milk chocolate chips or
amazing.
sweet?
Semi-sweets, but you can use milk chocolate chips. You
I
can use
prefer
white chocolate.
semi-sweet.
Yeah, and you can do anything with these cookies, guys. If you want macadamia nuts, put them in. If you want almonds, even though I don't really know who puts almonds in cookies, put them in.
Walnuts.
Well, no,
pecans.
not for me. I don't want those in there. Maybe
Who
you
makes
can
those?
next time I can do half a batch, and you could have walnuts in yours.
Do you like any tree nuts?
Are pistachios from trees?
I think so.
I like those. You hear the crispy?
I haven't had dinner, so.
All right, get out of here before you eat all my cookies.
I'm gonna
Cookie
take a
Monster.
few.
I have a real Cookie Monster over here. And guys, look at how many cookies this makes. Again, I got 43 out of that batter, so that's a lot. Guys, a little tip for you, by the way. If you have a couple of cookies, make a chip with it. Get some vanilla ice cream. I feel like Haagen-Dazs vanilla flavored is a really good universally available choice. Scoop some of the ice cream out, put it on one of the cookies, the bottoms of one of the other cookies, and how much ice cream you wish to add is up to you entirely. Take the other cookie and sandwich it on top, and you have a chipwich. If you have sprinkles or jimmies or whatever they call it wherever you live, you can roll it in there and you can have jimmies on the edges or crushed Oreo cookies, anything you want. But we made a chipwich. Let's try it out. My ice cream is softened. Make sure your ice cream is firm. That's real good. So there you have it, a chipwich. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, check out pressurelawcooking.com because I have a ton of recipes there. I do specialize in the Instant Pot, and if you don't have one of those, I strongly suggest you get one, especially right now with a lot of home cooking going on. Check out facebook.com/pressurelawcooking and like that page for anytime a new recipe drops, just like this one, you'll be in the know. And of course, at Pressure Luck to subscribe to me on YouTube, hit that little subscribe and then hit the little bell so it notifies you anytime a new video comes out. Pinterest, Instagram, and Twitter. Thank you so much again, guys. And the world might be an interesting place right now, but it's always gonna be better, and it's always gonna put a smile on your face when you have some amazing chocolate chip cookies. What could go wrong when you have a chocolate chip cookie in your hand, right? Enjoy.